CrossFit small group series. It's good to see you again. I know that it sounds like we worked out some of our technical difficulties in week 2. However, my shirt was distracting last week. So I wore brown. We got the mic on. I think we've got this all figured out. So let's dive in. I want to start with a question. Who invited you to church? Maybe it was recent, maybe it was a long time ago, maybe it was you were brought there when you were a baby by your parents, but who invited you to church? I shared in a sermon a number of months ago about how I was invited by some friends in high school. I was bagging groceries at the grocery store and they came through the line and invited me to participate in the youth group choir, and from there I got plugged into my church. And that invitation to church changed my life back many years ago. And that's the power of witness. It can literally change someone's life in an eternal way. I mean, think about it. If we really believe this stuff, if we really think about and hold on to what we confess that we believe, how can we not share it? How can we keep it to ourselves? In fact, Penn Jillette, the famous magician from the Penn and Teller duo, is in fact an ardent atheist. And even he thinks that Christians need to take sharing their faith more seriously. In a YouTube video that went viral a number of years ago, he said, "How much do you have to hate somebody to believe that everlasting life is possible and not tell them that? I mean, if I believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that a truck was coming at you and you didn't believe it, there's a certain point where I tackle you, he says. And everlasting life is more important than that." And more people are receptive to discussions about faith than maybe you realize. Tom Rainier, in his book, The Unchurched Next Door, claims that 82% of unchurched are at least somewhat likely to attend church if invited. Most people, he says, come to church because of a personal invitation. And yet, according to Rainier, 7 out of 10 unchurched people have never been invited to church in their whole lives. In fact, only 2% of church members invite an unchurched person to church. That's 98% of churchgoers who never extend an invitation in a given year. I mean, that's incredible and depressing. If those statistics are even partially true for our community, think of all the people who are waiting for invitations and never receive them. So what stops us? Are we afraid of awkwardness? Are we scared of rejection? Are we trying to preserve our reputations or our image? Which would, of course, beg the question, is there something wrong with being labeled a churchgoer? Are we afraid of questions? Or do we just assume that everyone goes to church? Or if they wanted to, they would go without being invited? Well, I want you to talk about this in your small groups, but before you do, listen to what the Apostle Paul says in Romans 10. He says, "Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how then can they call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without someone preaching to them? And how can they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." All right, talk about that and we'll see you back for segment 2.